January 14th to Monday, January 17th.
9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Learn more at BarnettHarley.com or call 915-592-5804. Sponsored in part by Ears,
The El Paso Association of Radio Stations,
and Vitalent.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM.
915-544-5876.
Or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you so much for tuning in here. It's my favorite day of the week because we have made it all the way through to Friday, the weekend in sight, but on this show, we get to be very special with it because it is free for all Friday. That means we are taking those comments and calls from you throughout the show. We'll take on any subject here today. Usually during the week, we'll keep it a little bit, what is the impact here in El Paso? But this is the pressure relief valve for all the very many things that are going on in and around the world. Can still affect us here, to prefer it, frankly, but we'll bring it up as long as you follow those very simple FCC guidelines that we need to. You're welcome to call in during the show. That number to call in is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Already have Calvin Willing joining us over on the social pages, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, and Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Either of those names, Talk El Paso, Andrew J. Polk, most of those places, you will find us as we are doing our best to discuss the many important and impacting things going on in and around and affecting us here. A lot of heavy topics that we have discussed this week. And there's even more to come up here. Some things that are affecting us here locally, but going on a little bit more nationwide, frankly, is what's going on in schools and with teachers. I have seen some, let's just say, unfortunate phrasing of posts about, let's just say the word sub has a few meanings, and just putting out there, will you be my sub without context could be, well, open to interpretation. More seriously, there is a shortage. We talked a little bit about earlier this week, first responders being out due to the recovery time and the quarantine periods, etc., due to COVID-19. Just in our area, a couple hundred out of not that many hundred more, about 1,000 each way, police and firefighters in town. And so that is concerning in its own right, but that, of course, is having its own toll when it comes to things like teachers, leading to some conversation I have been seeing online about, okay, so what's going to be done? The initial talk of maybe going back to virtual learning, problematic for a couple of ways. If you're going to be expecting who's going to do it? If teachers are already out, going virtual has some impact on that situation, but it doesn't exactly solve the core issue of who's going to teach it. And that's really been the issue. I think we'll be hearing more about that coming up later in the show as well during our news updates, because, yeah, there has been a labor shortage in general, and this might be a particularly acute one, as there is, well, just temporarily as people are out sick, etc. Also, the other problem with going virtual here in Texas is that essentially you're going to be packing up that district and putting it in a box, because that's how funding works in Texas, literally. And that's why the attendance sheets were so important, and yet they still trusted these sometimes delinquent students, at least during my day, to bring them down to the office. Because that's how the funding works. If you don't have the proof of attendance, here in Texas anyway, there is no funding mechanism. There was basically emergency back of the napkin kind of stuff happening over the past, primarily in 2020 itself proper, and extending a slight bit into 2021, but it ended. It doesn't exist anymore, so maybe New Mexico has something in place. I'll admit I'm not as familiar with that. But Texas, you are SOL, because you can't do it. Doesn't work that way. If you're a private or a charter school, maybe your situation is different, but public schools in Texas, not gonna work, because you literally cannot get the funding that way. Calvin Williams chiming in that's saying the military now getting Article 15s because spouses are going to work where they may have been exposed to COVID. That's That's a catch-22 to continue using the acronyms there that I am glad I am not caught in, but definitely feel for those that may. Cindy Golden chiming in saying that teachers are leaving the profession because the kids don't want to learn. That's an interesting standpoint there. I mean, I've heard from, I literally know some teachers who ended up leaving the profession because there's an adage that I find that holds true in most circumstances when it comes to employment in general. People don't quit jobs, they quit management, and been more than a little bit of consternation with management when it comes to education over the years. Talk to a teacher and they'll be probably more than happy to tell you, depending on how inebriated they are, how bad things may or may not have been. Sure, some out there with plenty of good stories, but on the balance, my experience when talking with people who have been involved in education has been some serious Whiskey Tango Foxtrot kind of stories. So I am not surprised that we have seen the toll we have, but it then is compounded by this current situation of Omicron and it seems, not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, not anyone that you should be taking medical advice from, myself, but what it seems on the balance is that, yes, more people are getting sick, but again, the argument I found most persuasive is that we should be looking at hospitalizations now as kind of the guiding star weather forecast situation of how we are doing. Because the case rates don't seem to be amounting like they're higher. The reports come out constantly these days about how serious they are, and yet we're still not quite as bad. Like, technically, I think we're over case rates that we were at the end of 2020 when we had that pretty dire situation we were looking at when it came to public health and the public health resources available in our area. We're, by all reckoning and everything I've been seeing so far, not there. Kind of holding my breath involuntarily that we won't end up there, but another one of those, unfortunately, only time will tell kind of situations. But if you're going to keep people quarantining, that was kind of part of both the discussion and, frankly, criticism I've been hearing about the whole CDC moving down from a couple of weeks down to 5 days of the isolation as being safe, as not necessarily being the most data-driven decision, or more specifically, driven by a different kind of data about impact, specifically economically. The CDC, among its many public confidence issues that have been ongoing for about 2 years now. Yeah, that sounds about right. These decisions have been getting increasingly criticized, like one I brought up earlier this week, such as the mask recommendations on should they recommend something that has efficacy or kind of keep the same something is better than nothing. And, well, we know how that decision went. So my heart goes out to teachers. They have a very difficult job, and any job that ends up kind of pretty immediately requiring a master's degree that has that kind of compensation level, you would get laughed out of the hiring booth there. It kind of feels like the must-have master's degree, 5 years of experience, starting at minimum wage kind of job description feel to it. Someone's going to come at me with, yeah, but they get summers off. And yet, have you ever met a teacher that wasn't wholeheartedly in it? And those are the kind of people that are being, to a certain extent, forced out of it. Anyway, I had great teachers. I am thankful for my teachers, and I'm glad they were able to stick around and do so. But I am also very thankful in a variety of ways. I am not in the public education system at this point in time. I had friends who had kindergartners literally starting their school experience and it ended up being in front of a computer screen. That's a wild times that we absolutely live here. A lot of discussion going on about this. We're ready to do for our first break here right now, but coming back after, we're going to talk more about that blood drive going on today. Still time to go out there today, but going on throughout this week as well, and a whole lot more. It is Friday, so we are taking those calls and comments throughout the hour. We got John Browson, Kevin Williams, John Hogan, Cindy Golden, and more tuning in, chiming in. You're more than welcome to do so. That number, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On the I-10 westbound, lane restrictions at Cotton Street and the downtown exits have traffic backed up back to Piedras. About 10-mile-an-hour traffic, slow and go on Yarborough southbound between Pebble Hill and Montwood. Zaragoza is slow between Joe Battle and Tierra Este. Got an injury accident Gateway Boulevard westbound at the Chelsea Street exit. Police responding to another accident Alameda Avenue north of Padres. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, how is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
The start of a brand new year is a great time to make changes and improvements. So if you have cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures, get a beautiful new smile at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are very affordable, as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 an implant. But at 1995implants.com, you're going to save a lot of money on dental implants that are top quality and long-lasting. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans that fit your budget. Make this new year your best year ever with 1995implants.com. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
What's that? Oh, you hate your job. Well, just speak up a little. All right, not speak up. Speak up. You know, if you have something to say, you have a passion you could spend hours talking about every day, if you've always fantasized about doing a podcast, you just have to speak up. That's what we call it over at Spreaker.com. Spreaker for my heart. It's the easiest way to podcast and get paid for it. So, you know, speak up. Speak for yourself. Speak your mind. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Spreaker.com.
iHeartRadio Earth knows small changes make a big difference for the environment. Did you know that keeping your tires even a single PSI lower than recommended means worse mileage and more trips to the pump? So do the environment and your wallet a favor and always check the tire pressure. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips on smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks so very much for joining in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free on the live iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on our social pages, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways to interact, particularly today, because it is Friday. I mean, we're doing that whole free-for-all Friday thing with open lines throughout the show, so you are more than welcome to call in to 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. During the week, we usually do the whole, let's focus on the impacts of the borderland here, but there is so much going on out there and not enough local discussion about it, so we'll take on all subjects today. Just remember those FCC rules, because I want to keep doing this. Anyway, we'll stop you if you start swearing, so that's what it comes down to. So keep it clean, and we'll keep the discussion going. 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. A lot of comments going on as well. Calvin Williams, John Brazelton, and more going on here. John Hogan. A lot of comments going on here. John Brazelton, dating himself more than a little bit, but went to elementary school in a one-room country school, had the same teacher every year. For some reason, I keep thinking about, as you made that comment, for some reason, To Kill a Mockingbird comes to mind in that schoolhouse as the image coming to my mind. Calvin Williams saying that had great teachers too, except for the English teacher I had in 6th grade. You always remember the bad ones, is I think part of the problem coming out of this. That Kevin Williams making also a decent point in response to Cindy Golden a little bit more that since when do kids want to learn, good teachers make them want to learn. I do think that there is a lot of evolution happening in the school system. I remember being in on some of the discussions about EPISDs. I forget what they branded the effort, but their refresh of education a couple of superintendents ago. And talking about the way it has changed, the way it is moving, the way it needs to. I don't think normal is a average. There is no such thing as you cannot bring me and sit down in front of me normal and analyze the properties of that object. It's an average. So what is normal, I don't think will ever be the same it was again, but there will be a different one probably here. John B. Hogan also agreeing with something I said earlier. Reporting should be for how many deaths and how many ICU beds are occupied. I think ICU beds is a little specific because we got a lot of general, like, what is the occupancy of the actual staffed beds? Because that's also another issue. I mean, we got staff going out there, but it didn't make a lot of sense to me reading about it towards the onset of the pandemic, frankly, that there was staff being let go. You think, well, if we're going to need more of it, what it ended up being is that a lot of those positions ended up being justified through the procedures, the surgeries, the other non-critical care things that the hospital did, or various of them did. But the fact that couldn't be repurposed and saying, okay, let's have them staff a bed here because if they've, at a certain point, we need baseline medical. I don't know. I'm not in that kind of hospital administration. Someone tell me why I'm wrong. You want to call in 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. And Kevin Williams saying something very specific. We try to behave, but the government makes it so difficult. I'm reminded of a line from V for Vendetta, but I don't want to get banned off of everything. So we'll get to those calls right now. Again, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. We have Ben on the east side here with us now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. Two things. For 6 months, probably a little bit more, I've been trying to tell people about a thing called the Great Reset. If you don't know anything about the Great Reset, there's a book out now. It's Glenn's new book. It's called The Great Reset, but the Amazon has actually made it difficult and even more difficult to get it than it is now because it's sold out. But they kind of have made it to where if you put in The Great Reset by Beck, they give you another book that doesn't have anything to do with Glenn Beck and what he's talking about.
Okay.
If you don't know anything about the Economic Council, the things that are going on in the world, you really don't know. I'm sure that I'm talking to the choir. Most of the people that are listening right now, because of the type of person that listens to this show, is learning about this. And if you want to know a little bit more about how to take care of yourself and everything, the other source, there's two sources, one Glenn Beck for the Great Reset, and the other source, I can't tell you enough. Log on, podcast, Daniel Horowitz, The Conservative Review, and you will learn how, again, this is, the virus, there's three parts of it: early prevention, early treatment, and long haul COVID. And all you have to do is avail yourself of the knowledge and find yourself a doctor. There's a place called Push Health that you can call, and they will hook you up with a doctor that believes in this stuff. And you get the hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, the other treatments that actually work if you get a case of COVID, and you won't have to go into the hospital. Please look into those things.
I mean, it's good to be informed of what's going on out there. And again, yeah, I don't recommend just taking random things you hear. Talk with medical professionals, people you trust about it. Make sure that it's going to be right and work the right way for you. But yeah, being informed. And yeah, the World Economic Forum, the whole Great Reset, what's the phrasing? I will own, it's 2030. I own nothing. I've never been happier. Good Lord. Yeah.
You won't own anything and you'll be happy.
Yeah, sure, and buddy.
That's what's happening with I'm not sure if it's happening in El Paso, but most of the properties throughout the United States are being bought by a company named BlackRock, They're buying it at 150% over cost. You would think, why are they doing that? Well, because they know that when the Great Reset takes place, they're betting on the come, that they will own everything and you will own nothing, and you'll have to rent and kowtow to everybody that has, ownership in BlackRock.
Yeah, I keep seeing the talk about it, and I do not get me wrong. I agree with it in no way, but I don't know. I don't buy it that there's ever going to be any real implementation of it, because there's way too many people that would say F this, essentially, because that's my knee jerk and more than a few other people. So it's important to discuss it and talk about and be informed about, but I guess I see the feasibility of it actually being implemented as the way it's being talked about, even from the World Economic Forum, it's kind of laughable in my mind, but if it ends up starting to come real, you'll bet I'll be concerned real fast.
And Andrew, it is happening now. All you have to do is know what's happening with what happened with COVID. That was their introduction. That was their facilitator in order to get this thing started, along with the climate change. And this is all, it's all starting. Their goal is to have everything implemented and taken on the way by 2030. That's when you listen to Joe Biden. He talks about 2030 all the time, and he wants everything done by 2030. The climate people want everything done by 2030. If you look at the website, World Economic Forum, they will tell you exactly what's going on, and it is not. It's not in the future. It is happening now.
Oh, I don't disagree with you that there are those out there trying to do it. I'm just saying that in actually trying to implement it and make it widespread, I think they're going to have a lot more pushback than they expect there, but still important to be informed about. I'll agree with you on that.
But could you believe that what has happened with COVID, that the people in the United States have given away all their rights and their freedoms to go to work, to earn a living, to have something, to have a house, to actually own something, and be proud of something, and they've given it all away because of fear from COVID?
I mean, I get where you're coming from and the concern about it.
And a rightful fear.
I mean, I get where you're coming from and the concern about it, but that's why we do what we do here, to discuss these things. And again, I think in any actual widespread, real rubber hits the road to everyday person implementation, there's going to be a lot of problems, because a whole lot of people are not just going to take that. And I think that's my comfort in it, but again, important to talk about it. So thank you for the point and the call there. Let's get to at least one more here this segment. We do have, again, the number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Hi, this is Guadalupe Giner. How are you?
Hi there, Guadalupe. What's on your mind?
Well, I kind of wanted to set the record straight. So Judge Samaniego does have a challenger.
Yes, of course. I have been mentioning that as well, that there is an independent running for this race as well.
That's correct, and that's me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I just wanted to let your listening audience know that he does have a challenger. I am running as an independent, and I would love someday to come on your show and be a guest and tell you a little bit more about myself.
You know what? We're definitely in that season here now. So tell you what, we're going to need to take that break right now. Stay on the line. We're going to get some basic information here, and we'll go from there, because, yeah, but we need to be talking about this election, absolutely, and being on the ballot is a very important step. So if you're there, we'll talk more about that. So stay on hold for me real quick. We'll get some information from you, all right?
Yes, thank you.
All right, absolutely here. So we'll go ahead and take that break right now. Due for it anyway. So coming back from the break, we'll talk more about these issues and taking more of your calls, because that is Friday, as we are doing. So that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Justin Cree, your CBS 4 News update. An El Paso police officer is now on suspension accused of beating an El Paso woman after she was involved in a car crash. The victim, Anna Marie Barnes, was involved in the crash last August. Her attorney claims an El Paso police officer broke her nose while Barnes was being charged with driving drunk. The Texas Department of Public Safety cleared her of those charges. Now an internal investigation has resulted in the officer accused of hurting her being suspended. According to the El Paso Police Department, a disciplinary review board recommended the suspension, but would not comment further. The woman's attorney continues to demand that all officers be required to wear body cameras. The officer was not identified. CBS 4 On Your Side was on the scene early this morning as one person is left with serious injuries after a car reportedly was involved in a collision with a train in northeast El Paso. The crash happened early this morning between Stan Roberts and Dyer. Officials say that the car only had the driver inside when the incident occurred. The driver was sent to the hospital with serious injuries. We will have further updates both on air and online at cbs4local.com. With your CBS 4 News update, I'm Justin Cree.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
On the I-10 westbound, those lane restrictions from earlier today have been lifted, so all lanes are back open, but travel is still pretty slow and go from Cotton all the way back to Piedras. Police responding to an accident Gateway Boulevard westbound at Lee Trevino, Gateway Boulevard eastbound between Reynolds and Trowbridge, slow and go traffic there, and Zaragoza northbound between Joe Battle and Tierra Este, stop and go traffic. Kelly Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Well, after another very nice day again today with lots of blue sky, we're ending up with partly cloudy skies tonight and temperatures in the lower to mid 30s. Winds should be to around 10 miles an hour, so that'll add to the chill. Now, as we get into Friday and Saturday, those are the two main days I've been watching for changes. Unfortunately, this is becoming a dud. I'm talking about no rain, no snow, just winds and cooler temperatures.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, how is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
By texting 818181, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Echelon. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at echelonfit.com/SMS.
You want to ride out? Then get on. Mr. Worldwide, and I tell you all the time, why dream when you can live it? And that's why now we have an amazing partnership with Echelon to make sure and to help everybody out there make their fitness dreams a reality. I'm here to motivate. I'm here to inspire you every day, baby. Now, Echelon makes fitness affordable for everyone. So, no more excuses. Take your stress and turn it into sweat. Reinvent yourself into the new you that you've always wanted to be. Now, take it from yours truly, Mr. 305, but it said, Mr. Worldwide, let me and Echelon bring your fitness dreams to reality. Why dream when you can live it? You already know. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good. That's right.
And right now, for a limited time, radio listeners get up to $800 off MSRP. To get this Echelon exclusive radio discount, text HEALTHY to 818181. Text HEALTHY to 818181 to get up to $800 off MSRP. That's HEALTHY to 818181.
Talk El Paso, airing weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, focused on local businesses, local politics, local impacts of the day's news. Brought to you in part by Thrive 915 Food Fest. Join the conversation Monday through Friday at 4, and let's talk El Paso.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, how is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the social pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, and so much more. Doing that whole free-for-all Friday thing because that's what we got going on, and that's what we're going to be doing throughout the rest of this show. So if you want to call in, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Couple calls in line here already, but we'll take more, and doing that throughout the whole hours, 2 hours, 4 to 6 p.m. Already a quarter of the way through. It's time flies when you're having fun, I guess. So also lots of comments going on. Calvin Williams, Leroy, Chuck, John Brazel 10, John Hogan, Cindy Golden a little bit earlier. Social is a pretty good way to comment throughout, but again, if you want to wade into the phone lines or just have it out with the Skeptic Squad over on the Facebook page, your wish is our command and what we're going to be talking about here today. Just if you're calling in, keep it clean is all I ask, but we'll take on any subject here. Kevin Williams making an interesting point. Never vote for a politician that has goals that will take them longer than the length of their term. I have emotions about that, but I'll have to figure that out because in general, yes, but, well, in general, yes. I think I'll leave it with that for now. But again, to those calls on the line here, do again have Guadalupe on the line to talk about a particular part. We're going to work more on having more candidates on, of course, as we're in the lead up to the elections here. But Guadalupe, you wanted to make a specific point about the election process for independent candidates at this point, right?
Correct. So several people have refused to interview me in the media because they claim that I'm not on the ballot. There is another step for an independent candidate to officially get their name on the ballot in November. And that step is that I will have to collect signatures up to 500 of people after the primary, of people that did not vote in the primary. And then once I have those, and I guess they're certified by the county, then I'll have my name on the ballot. But I am campaigning. I do have a treasurer. I've filed my intent to run as an independent. And so I wanted to explain that process because a lot of the media are saying that the judge is running unopposed, and that is not true.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just that I have to go through an additional process.
Yeah, because the Texas primaries, again, this is even according to the Texas Secretary of State. Yeah, there are regular files they filed during the regular period there, and that's why the reporting that I've been paying attention to anyway, you have been mentioned as such, but again, that additional kind of wrinkle part of it. And so for the county judge, it's going to be 5% or 500 maximum number of signatures, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that is the purpose going on there. So it'll really kick in for you then once we come out of this upcoming primary in March.
Absolutely. And I just want to mention it so that when you have me on the show, people are already a little more familiar with me. They can go to GuadalupeForElPaso.com, and I've got a really nice video on there that'll tell you the reasons why I decided to run.
Okay, fair enough. We'll have to talk more about that. But thanks for the little bit of insight there into what is going on with a very important local race.
Exactly. And I appreciate you having me back on after the break.
Yeah, sure thing. It's always an interesting thing to explain how our elections work because I'll be honest, I had heard about that, but I had forgotten. So thank you for the refresher.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. You have a good weekend.
You too. All right. Thank you for the call there. We'll talk about the local issues. We got the time and we got the place, and this is the purpose that we are doing this for. So we got more calls on the line here right now as well, because we're doing that thing this whole time. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now we do have Raul in the Northeast on the line here with us. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. When I ran, my main platform was trying to make local government more democratic, more representative, more effective, more innovative, and accountable, and at the same time increasing voter turnout and civic participation. And that the way I proposed to do that was to create this thing called the Citizens Democratic Research Institute. And this institute's goal would be to survey all of El Pasoans about their vision for the city in general and for their districts in particular, and what they think the city and their neighborhood's problems are, and any ideas they'd have to solve these problems in their district. And much of their work would be done by El Paso students at its universities, at UTEP, the community college, through the high schools, retired seniors, unemployed veterans, and unemployed people in general. And they would be paid to conduct the research, register voters, and ask for contributions to continue the work of the Institute. And then the city government and the county government would work with UTEP and El Paso Community College and the school districts and any other organizations and individuals interested in doing this work to supervise the researchers who'd be surveying El Pasoans via questionnaires that could be sent out in the utility bills and property tax notices, through emails, through social media, through public events that would periodically be held throughout town at school campuses and city and county parks. And they would do surveys and provide entertainment at the same time, They do other things throughout town anyway. We would approach El Paso's philanthropies and wealthy philanthropists to see if they would be interested in helping to fund the Research Institute. They would hire grant writers who could write grants. And so then these surveys would be tabulated, publicized, and disseminated to the community and survey participants. This way the community's political leaders would know the collective vision of the city. Citizens discussion groups and debates about the results of the surveys would be held throughout town and invite elected representatives and candidates for public office. So that's what I think we need to do. We need to proact, because the way the system acts now, it's reactive to those few who proact, and those are the people with the money. And they get what they want. And regardless of what the community wants, they do what they want with our money. And it's so few people participate. This would build that database.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you very much.
Well, no, I got a question before you go. Except for the whole inclusion within tax bills and utility bills, what's stopping you from doing something like that right now? Establishing this kind of a basic forum and then putting that into effort at any level.
What's stopping me in particular?
Yeah.
Help. I need help from people who do this. If your listeners want to help me do this, get in touch with me. Let's do it. I can't do it all by myself. I've got other things that I do also. Sure.
Okay. All right.
Let's talk it up some more. Have me on the show. We'll talk it up some more.
To maybe talk about that further.
Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a good idea?
I think it's an interesting concept that could probably do with some refinement. It almost sounds like you're not quite taking the step towards a direct democracy effort.
No, it's not a direct democracy. It's a survey. It builds a database. Otherwise, what gets done is what the lobbyists who get the money from the rich people in El Paso want done. And that just happens not just in El Paso. This is America. It happens at the state level and even bigger level, because there's all these government contracts that are let for this or that.
Sure.
And then at the national level, it really gets big time. So, it's a rigged game by money. This would build a database, is the whole point.
Okay, databases are good, but then the real question comes down to me for any kind of effort, and what we already see in town is, how are you actually going to get people to participate?
Well, that's why you go out and knock on their doors. If they didn't respond to the surveys, through the utility bills, through their tax notices, through social media, all the things that I mentioned, then you finally still go out and start knocking on doors and build that database. They could do it. This is not rocket science, okay?
Okay,
it could be done. And it wouldn't be that expensive. It'd be a whole lot less expensive than all the money on the boondoggles that they have spent that haven't done much for the community in the end. And we still don't have that vision of what El Paso wants. We have the vision of what the plutocrats want and the political elites want, but not what the average El Paso wants. And they don't care. And as long as the system stays the way it is, we'll continue to get the same results, because it's so few people participate. And that's why we should create the organizations that proact towards us the people, us the taxpayers. Ask me what I want. Give me a chance to tell you what I think is wrong and what we could do about it. But not just me, everybody who wants to participate. So that's what I would do. And if somebody wants to help me, let's go for it.
I mean,
call. Let's do it. Let's build it. Let's get a referendum for it. But I can't do anything by myself. Things are done through groups of people, organizations of people who have visions and can get some people behind it to do the work.
Well, all it asks is, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and get started.
On numerous projects over the years.
Sure thing. Well, it sounds like one that I think getting going on it would be the most important thing if you're really interested in seeing the results of such an effort. But maybe that's just me. All right, well, thank you for the point in the call there, I do suppose. Interesting idea. I'm just, again, wondering what's stopping you from starting at any level right now. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good or anything, because clearly there's a long road to hoe when it comes to actually getting people involved in our area. We talked a bit about there being a lot of good idea people out there, that this would be a great thing to have, and then what comes down to, so how do we get there? Well, someone should do it. Let's get over that step and then see where it takes you. Anyway, I think we'll squeeze in one more quick one here before we end up hitting this break for the last break of this hour. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Joe from the West Side. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing all right, Joe. What's on your mind?
I got parts. The first thing is I just want to verify with you. My wife, who's a Mexican national, tells me that Juarez or Mexico will require vaccine status before we can cross over as Americans to Juarez. Is that true?
That is not a requirement I have heard of in the CBP and other releases that I've seen, but that actually may be changing now that I'm thinking about it. I think that was being implemented now that you bring that up. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
According to her, it's like January 22nd, which is next week.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious about that. If you heard anything about that?
You know, I heard that being potentially done, but let me see if I can find anything on that. But you had a second point?
Second point is I want Raul and all my fellow loving liberals out there to tell me the top 3 things they're proud of Joe Biden today, instead of just calling and putting down Trump, who, you know, most of the conservatives I know are over with Trump because of his stance on supporting these Frankenshot bills. Besides putting down Trump, I want them to name 3 things that they're proud of that Mr. Biden has done, because according to the latest statistics I saw on the news channels this morning, even the Hispanic population is starting to stray away from Biden, and his overall approval ratings are really low.
I mean, fair point there, and taken in such a spirit, but I think there is on the right a little bit of common misunderstanding about the less relationship to Joe Biden. I have more often than not, when people are doing the whole "Let's go Brandon" line, people just saying, you know, you can just say the swear word about Joe Biden and I will probably agree with you, right? That's more of the conversations I've had in person. Maybe I'm not talking with the right liberals, but who knows? Anyway, we are definitely due for a break right now. Coming back from the break, going to talk more about that other question you had about vaccine status at ports of entry. We'll get into that, but also more calls, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back here with more Talk El Paso after this break on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Slow and go with a lot of delays for your Friday so far. I-10 westbound between Wrestler and Thorne, it's heavy traffic. I-10 frontage road eastbound approaching Artcraft all the way down to Red, it's pretty heavy stop-and-go traffic, possibly due to that accident. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Yarborough, a crash. An alternate would be to take the earlier exit Giles off the Gateway to avoid slowing from that crash. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, how is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID, and why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Open the doors to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities, a podcast that offers a rare glimpse into some of the most amazing and unbelievable stories taken straight from the pages of history. What you hear may astound you and disturb you. Tune in twice a week for bite-sized storytelling experiences that take listeners on a guided tour of the unbelievable, the unsettling, and the bizarre. Listen to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Mass Mutual knows that your finances can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Mark, we should really talk about our money.
Yep, we really should.
Like we never talk about our savings.
No, we never talk about that. Or our assets.
Or our debt.
Yeah, we really should talk about our debt.
We need one of those financial plans.
One of those will make a difference.
We should talk about it.
We really should.
Talk to us about financial wellness today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live Mutual.
Being a real estate agent isn't about listing houses. It's about connecting to people. I need to find new buyers every day. So I promote my listings using radio commercials from iHeartAdBuilder.com. Now every time I have an open house, it's a full house.
A custom radio ad from iHeart Ad Builder is the fast, affordable way to drive customers to your business. Put the power of radio to work for you. Get started now at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, how is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID, and why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
Let's talk about America. Not taxes or tweets or the issues that divide us, but how incredible our country is. Whether you come home to a crowded city street or sleepy small town, everyone deserves to live in a clean, green, and thriving community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working with millions of people like you to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Learn more at KAB.org. Together, we can do beautiful things.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we're talking about here today, and we'll keep doing that throughout the whole show because that's what we do on Fridays. We talk about what is important with you all, and that's why we have those open lines, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Taking those calls throughout the whole show, coming up in the end of the first hour here, but we're 4 to 6 p.m. these days. Second free-for-all Friday we've done in this new format. I think it's working out well so far, but you're welcome to call and give us your 2 cents on any subject. We'll take them all on today. Just FCC standards, please. That's literally all I ask. And a lot of conversation going on. Always happy when local officials or elected wannabes, or wanting to be elected would be the more polite way to say that, are calling in and talking with us. We will certainly talk more about it. Some interesting things. James Radcliffe pointing out that candidate we did have call in there, prospective candidate Guadalupe. Not going to say the last name right, so I'm going to skip it for now because I'm an idiot. But saying that Guadalupe for El Paso, not listed in the Google search, we need to make sure that her site has more keywords or metadata. Free advice there. It is coming up for me, but maybe that's because I also just searched it. But I do recall that being somewhat of an issue in doing candidate research once the final list started coming out and the reporting going on. But Calvin Williams further saying, making a bold claim that, I believe referring to Raul here, if he runs, I will put his sign in my yard. But also going on further to say about the whole interaction and having people, participate in democracy, that some smart guy once said, we give you a republic if you can keep it, or something like that. I believe that was Ben Franklin there, smart enough to be on the 100 anyway. Point is that there's a lot of great ideas out there, a lot of great potential things that could be done well if well implemented, but I also just have to say, anytime someone brings this up, we should totally do this, what's stopping you? Why not get it going? Why not create the system, get it rolling, and then get people in board and on top of it? Because when you say, we should get it going, but if you'll just help me, we'll get it going. There's 1,001 people out there saying that at any given point, so just start. That's all I got to say. All right, we've got time for a couple more calls before this top of the next hour. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Good afternoon. This is Tony Westside.
Hey, Tony, what's on your mind?
Well, Mr. Raul from the east, northeast rather, is under normal circumstances my enemy at the national level. However, what I have learned from the Middle Eastern people is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, Mr. Raul, if you are willing to take on the local corruption and the local irresponsible spending and so forth with Swartline and people like that, then I'm going to throw my hat in, and you will be my friend if you are the enemy of my enemy, which in this case would be Peter Smartline and the local politicians. Example, you get that database, or we'll contact, I think actually you, Andrew, would be a great hub. He offered to be on your program. He's got the idea. He needs some encouragement. He's getting some encouragement from me right now, and other people will also follow. So, yes, any idea that will help us hold the locals accountable, we should all join right in, because otherwise all we're really doing is just spitting in the wind. We talk about these other values, national issues rather, and they're laughing all the way to the bank. And like he said, so the biggest thing he said was that what gets done in this city is what money dictates, and that's the contractors and the election providers. But I'm sorry, were you trying to say something, Andrew?
No, I'm agreeing with you for the most part.
Yeah. But I'm gonna just I'm gonna add fuel to his thought, and I'm gonna throw my support in, and hopefully it'll grow. It's not gonna happen overnight, but you for the first time in your life, well, for the first time in a long time, Raul seems to be getting healthier mentally and putting Trump aside for a while he focuses on local issues. So I want to encourage him and other people to let's start joining forces and let's stop, wag the dog. In other words, right now the tail is wagging us. And if there's one thing we learned about Jerome Tillman, there's a lot of ticks on the dog, and we're the dog. And Peter Smartbein and other spenders they're the ticks, and they're sucking us dry. They're sucking us to death, sucking our blood through taxes. And they seem to be so disconnected as to our needs. So anyway, I will stay in touch, and I will, Raul, if you want to put up a website or a contact page or go through Andrew, I know that at one time Jerome Tillman wanted us to get together over a lunch table or what have you. And let's start, all of you listening to my voice, if you're serious about making this a better community and stop letting the Hunts and the Fosters rule this city rather, at our expense, then let's throw our hats in, let's put our minds together. In the next few days, hopefully we can come up with something solid. So, hey, Andrew, you got time for a little joke real quick? It's Friday. Just real quick joke, okay?
Sure thing, briefly if you can.
So here it is. Now, you guys have some leftovers in the refrigerator, and sometimes you can't tell if it's good or bad. Just put a quarter on top of the leftover. Now, if the quarter sinks to the bottom, throw it away. The leftover is no good. If the quarter goes about halfway down, it's questionable. But if the quarter stays on top, it was a good casserole. It was a good dish till you ruined it by putting a quarter on top of it.
All right. Well, thanks for the Friday joke there. That's why we do what we do on this show. But if there can actually be some coordination and local efforts started, I will take that as one of the better things we could potentially do on a program like this. But we'll talk more about it here in this coming segment, because we're out of time for this hour. Coming up in the second hour, so don't go anywhere. More Talk El Paso coming up after this break, after the top of the hour news. Again, phone lines open throughout the 2 hours. 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Stay tuned. Back after this.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heads up for an accident. Gateway Boulevard eastbound at Yarborough. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Lee Trevino. Another crash. Joe Battle Boulevard southbound after Montana. An accident blocking the right shoulder. A bit of a backup there. 10 is a stop-and-go parking lot from Rustler to Artcraft, both east and westbound. And Sunland Park eastbound. You're going less than 10 miles an hour from before Donovan over to the 10. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
When it comes to you and your family's health, you want the best care at the best price. That's where Altrua Health Share comes in. With Altrua Health Share, you'll have access to top quality medical providers and facilities, all within your budget. You can find an option that's right for you in a community of other like-minded, health-conscious individuals. Ready to find out more? Dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say My Share to learn more. That's pound 250 and then say the words My Share.
I am a veteran. I spent 2 years alone and homeless.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My victory was finding the support to get back on my feet.
DAV helps veterans of every generation get the benefits they've earned.
I'm a veteran. When I got out, I felt like nowhere was safe.
So veterans can reach victories, great and small.
My victory was finding the help I needed. Thanks to DAV, now I feel like I'm human again.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
With an open channel,
I guess just try to keep channels open.
We welcome open-minded individuals.
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
With open arms.
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
For open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link. At KTSMradio.com. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The Biden administration is gearing up to give away hundreds of thousands of free at-home COVID-19 test kits. Starting Wednesday, January 19th, Americans can order 4 test kits per household. They should be shipped within 7 to 12 days of ordering. The Health and Human Services Secretary is extending the COVID public health emergency. Javier Becerra extended the declaration another 90 days on Friday, allowing many public health protections and financial aid programs to go on for at least another 3 months. A new report says top health officials in the Biden administration are at odds about distributing high-quality masks to Americans. Lisa Taylor has more.
NBC News reports Surgeon General Vivek Murthy has pushed for a plan to widely give out N95 masks amid the latest surge due to the Omicron variant. However, CDC officials weren't on board with that idea, which included mailing one out. They were advocating for the agency to recommend that folks opt for a surgical mask. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said this week, any mask is preferable to no mask at all. She adds it needed to be well-fitting.
Wall Street is mixed to end the week as bank stocks slid. The Dow Jones lost 201 points to close at 35,911. The S&P 500 added 3 points to 4662. There are new updates in the many lawsuits against a prominent South Carolina attorney. Rebecca Hubbard reports.
The Supreme Court of South Carolina dismissed an appeal submitted on behalf of disgraced Hampton County attorney Alex Murdaugh, seeking the court's intervention in setting his bond. Since being denied bond in November, Murdaugh has been indicted on a slew of charges.
Despite the rumors, it looks like Pete Davidson is not hosting the 2022 Academy Awards. Variety reports they've confirmed with multiple sources that Davidson will not host the Oscars. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A tenant rally in New York City is an effort to extend the eviction moratorium that's set to expire tomorrow in New York State. Scott Pringle reports.
A number of people gathered in front of Governor Kathy Hochul's Manhattan office on 3rd Avenue calling for the eviction moratorium to be extended. They held hands, forming a chain across the street, leading to some arrests for blocking traffic. The ban on evictions was put in place at the start of the coronavirus pandemic to help tenants struggling financially. The governor has said she will not extend the moratorium and has asked the federal government for financial help for tenants.
Tennis superstar Novak Djokovic is right back where he started in Australia amid the ongoing vaccine controversy. The country's immigration minister ordered Djokovic back into detention after canceling his visa. The tennis champ will be interviewed, detained, and taken to his lawyer's office. However, it's unknown where exactly border officials and Djokovic will meet. The late Betty White is being honored by a New Jersey animal shelter next week on what would have been her 100th birthday.
St. Hubert's Animal Welfare Center in Madison is celebrating the Golden Girls actress and her love for animals with the Betty White Challenge. It encourages animal lovers across the country to donate to their local shelters and rescue groups on January 17th, White's birthday. She died last New Year's Eve at 99. St. Hubert's is currently holding a pet adoption event in White's honor, geared toward helping seniors find forever homes. Sarah Lee Kessler, New Jersey.
There's a new colony of 60 million fish that were previously undiscovered in Antarctica. They were found in the ice-covered Weddell Sea. The creatures are ice fish who have no red blood cells. Their skulls are see-through, and a German polar research vessel found the colony in February of last year. A study examining the colony was published this week in Current Biology. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. WIN. That's WIN. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week. How is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
What's that? Oh, you hate your job. Well, just speak up a little. All right, not speak up, speak up. You know, if you have something to say, you have a passion you could spend hours talking about every day, if you've always fantasized about doing a podcast, you just have to speak up. That's what we call it over at Spreaker.com, Spreaker for my heart. It's the easiest way to podcast and get paid for it. So, you know, speak up. Speak for yourself, speak your mind, speak now or forever hold your peace. Spreaker.com.
I'm Stephen Rennell, the host of the Meat Eater podcast and the Netflix original series Meat Eater. As a hunter and wildlife enthusiast, the question comes up, how can you justify killing and eating animals that you love and protect? Well, that's part of what we wrangle with on the Meat Eater podcast, along with broader and often funnier discussions about living an outdoor life in the modern world. We insist on sharing challenging opinions to inspire thought and action. Listen to the Meat Eater podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous. Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device,
it would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed. Shouldn't we listen? They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you so very much for tuning in, however you may be doing so, as we're embarking on another second hour of our program in this new format, 4 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. It is also that time on Friday when we're taking those calls throughout the entire show for Free for All Friday. Open lines going on, so that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I consider this the pressure release valve of the week. There's so much we talk about, and yet during the week we like to have the focus on what it means here in the borderland. There's so much more that we can never fully get to, even with this 2 hours. So we will take on any subject here today if you're wanting to tune in, chime in, however you're doing it. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM is that number to call. But we also have lots of comments. The Skeptic Squad alive and well and raving as it always is today over on the social pages, primarily facebook.com/Talk El Paso. But you don't have to be on the socials to participate in us, and particularly those of you out on the road, out there, hope you're staying safe. Really hope you're not going westbound through downtown right now. Drove through that myself a little bit earlier, and that going down to, you'd think it going down onto the shoulder practically, the way people act. But no, there's technically 2 lanes open there on the left-hand side, but don't be expecting to exit it downtown. I saw that. You're practically jumping the curb to do that, so drive safe and stay safe out there. But we've got people chiming in: Calvin Williams, Leroy Chuck, James Radcliffe, John Brazelton, and more throughout the program. Leroy Chuck as well, but I didn't already mention that. So if you're wanting to chime in, that's one of the better ways to it's its own conversation, has its own life there. Leroy Chuck saying about that news update, free at-home testing sounds like a waste of money, with a further point made by Calvin Williams saying if you order the at-home test kits, they'll take 12 days to get them. Not bad considering the CDC says you only need to be in quarantine 5 days now. Have a serious case, you'll be in the hospital before that. Correcting himself, he said 23, but meant 12. But also that callback to that whole discussion that this is why we do the calls the way we do, and why I will take on just about any caller. Hey, there's been no one that I'm like, I can't handle you. Get off of here. Get off my phone, you big dope. Because you can handle just about any discussion. But James Radcliffe pointing out that Raul can't run against Farr's mine. They're not in the same district. I think there was a larger effort, not necessarily about running for a campaign, but about more coordination of El Paso voters, which 3.5% and 5%, 4.5%. Not even 5% out of our last 2 elections show, yeah, that's the case. A lot of people not engaged in this. So, but then Kevin Williams also saying that he'll run if I'm the campaign manager. I can't even afford my own rates, man. Well, let's just keep it with the political talk here as we're doing. So again, number to call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Barbara on the west side of the line with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank goodness it's Friday. You can get some rest, hopefully. I wanted to respond to the gentleman that gets out of work at 4:45. Yesterday
yes.
he called and he indicated that I did not know what I was talking about. He questioned my 75%, the numbers I gave. I just wanted to let him know that the 75% of deaths that are recorded as COVID deaths, that was a figure from the CDC. I don't make these numbers up. I just get on the radio when I have facts, and I think they're important facts. I will call. So just to let Al know, I believe that was his name, Al.
Alf.
The CDC,
Alf. I said it wrong. It was Alf.
Alf. Oh, okay. Walensky got on national TV and told us, and I think it was in front of the Senate, I'm not sure, in a Senate committee meeting. She stated that 75% of the deaths that were recorded as COVID were in fact not COVID deaths. And she further stated that the COVID deaths that are recorded, those individuals had 4 or more core morbidities. And I'm saying this slowly because I want him to understand that these numbers are the CDC numbers. And I further stated, where is Carranza explaining our numbers locally? I think that's a very important issue that he should be discussing and letting us know. So, Alf, I don't call in and make stuff up. Those are facts that I call in with, and they can be verified anytime you think that I don't know what I'm talking about. He can please verify my facts because I don't want to, and I will not mislead anybody because I feel a certain way or I lean a certain way. If there are numbers there that I don't like that pertain to what the Republican Party did or affect me in any way, I'm not going to call and portray those numbers as something that they're not. I just believe in being honest with the public, and that's all I do. I just figure that's my contribution to your radio show, Andrew.
No, I do appreciate that. I mean, having a basis in reality is important to me anyway. And a little bit more context, pulling it up here, Reuters article saying that, I mean, this was actually based off of comments made during Good Morning America by Dr. Rochelle Walensky about it. And they rated it as more or less accurate, but missing context, saying that in comments around vaccine efficacy, Walensky said that a CDC study had found that over 75% of deaths amongst fully vaccinated people were among those with at least 4 comorbidities. So the takeaway for me here anyway is that, yeah, comorbidities are a serious issue, and the fact that there hasn't been as much focus on that as has been brought up by some callers such as yourself is concerning to me, particularly in our community, because I can tell you, even if it's not coming out from the people who are supposed to be talking about this, that things like diabetes, fatty liver disease, how many times have we been called the fattest city or the sweatiest city, or all of those kind of funny things in other circumstances, but now kind of serious things. Those are all contributing factors that they should be talked about because they're important and they're particularly impactful in this whole situation we've been in for 2 years now.
And in addition to that, you've got to take into consideration that it's this, not El Paso. We're Sunland Park, we're Santa Teresa, we're Juarez, and El Paso community. So we're a combination of a lot of different small cities that aren't specifically Texas. They're not El Paso, Texas. So those influence the number. And I don't know that they've ever given us a breakdown on that. And that, again, is an important thing to know, is exactly what is attributed to El Paso, how many do we treat from Sunland Park, New Mexico, Santa Teresa, New Mexico, and so how many do we treat that come over from Juarez? To me, those are important numbers because it makes the whole, and maybe the numbers seem greater and more, more concern when you pull them all together than to just isolate El Paso, Texas. So that's my view on how we should be getting our numbers locally.
I mean, I'm usually in favor of more information being made available to the general public because it ends up helping create a more nuanced but accurate picture of what's going on. Sure, there might be something, technical knowledge you might need to get really down in the weeds, but in general and overall, guiding star for me is put out the information and let people come to their conclusions about it. And that seems to work best, in my opinion.
That's right. Well, you have a great weekend, and good luck tomorrow on the blood drive, and I hope it was a successful one today.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to talk more about that here. So thank you for the point and the call here. Yes, was out at the All Radio Blood Drive. We had at least one of those spots come up here during this past hour anyway. Talk more about that coming out of the break, how it is continuing on these next few days, talking about health issues in our area. That is a serious one, literally giving the gift of life. But we'll have to get more about that because we are due for that first break already. Again, the number to call if you wanted to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Talk about a whole lot of stuff, including voting party buses. You better get that book soon. But more on that after this break. Comment if you want to. Chime in. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got a crash eastbound on the border highway before you get to Zaragoza. Sunland Park eastbound is slow and go from Fort Donovan over to the 10. I-10 westbound from Wrestler to Thorne, it's solid stop and go traffic. Gateway Boulevard westbound, we got a crash at the Lee Trevino exit with police on the scene. Joe Battle southbound, got an accident blocking the right shoulder after Montana. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Win $1,000.
No way. No way. No way.
Oh, baby. Yes way.
No way.
It's a grand in your hand. Listen every hour from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. weekdays for your chance to win.
A grand in your hand is brought to you by Approved Autos. Drive out in your new ride in less than an hour. Choose from every make and model from their super clean, hand-picked inventory and get payments as low as $159 a month. Worried about your credit? Don't sweat it. If you got your license and you got a job, they smell a deal. The deals are sweeter at Approved Autos, 8498 Alameda.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week. How is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
The start of a brand new year is a great time to make changes and improvements. So if you have cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures, get a beautiful new smile at 1995implants.com, the El Paso dental office where implants are very affordable, as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Other places charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 an implant. But at 1995implants.com, you're going to save a lot of money on dental implants that are top quality and long-lasting. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans that fit your budget. Make this new year your best year ever with 1995implants.com. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Open the doors to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities, a podcast that offers a rare glimpse into some of the most amazing and unbelievable stories taken straight from the pages of history. What you hear may astound you and disturb you. Tune in twice a week for bite-sized storytelling experiences that take listeners on a guided tour of the unbelievable, the unsettling, and the bizarre. Listen to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey Texas, this is Eric Burton. And I'm Adrian Casada, and we are Black Pumas. We've partnered with Don't Mess with Texas to turn up the message to keep Texas clean. So come on, join hands and let us be united. Let's all do our part in taking care of our beautiful state roads. It's time to step up. Together, we can keep Texas litter-free. Don't mess with Texas, y'all. Peace.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. A whole lot of ways that you can interact with the show. Of course, we're doing that whole free-for-all thing for Fridays, which means we got those open lines throughout the show. So you are welcome to call in, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Got to get that area code in there these days because that's how the system works. But you can also leave us comments in a lot of other ways. We got pound 250 calls coming up here. We got a lot of comments. Skeptic Squad always active, particularly on a Friday, over on mainly the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. But Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where we're streaming the full video these days. So thank you for being over there if you are. But we also got, if you're wanting to call in, you are more than welcome to. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Before going to the phone lines, a couple of things I want to say real quick. And mention I'll talk more about that blood drive, the all-radio blood drive going on now. Well, okay, it just ended for the day, but going on the next 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, out there at Barnett Harley-Davidson, hit the Lomaland exit off I-10, and then head towards Lee Trevino. You got to do it, get the U-turn either way. If you're coming from east, that is going on 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You will be entered to win a brand new Barnett Harley-Davidson. I posted up a video of their setup and that bike over on the Facebook page if you want to check it out for yourself. But there is a critical need in our area, so I was very happy to be out there. Actually had a listener come out and tell us that he was there because he heard it, so I thank you to Tommy, I believe it was. If I'm not misremembering your name, apologies if I am. But he's going to bring out the family there also on Saturday as well. So kudos to you. Was giving out some water bottles, but they had, pizza. We'll have pizza. And again, that giveaway. So it's an important thing, literally the gift of life in our area because of the critical shortage of blood supplies. So that's my little personal PSA thing. One other thing I did want to mention here, since there is a lot of service-minded, doing good for the community being minded here, of course, Monday is MLK Junior Day. And we've had that partnership going on with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. They are asking for volunteers for the day of service. You can join them from either the morning or the afternoon in order to honor the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. So they need basic help out there. And if you want to give them, find out how you can volunteer, ElPasoansFightingHunger.org. I also push for that going on today because we do have that coming up. And again, if you want to be involved in helping out the community, more power to you. There's a concrete way, at least, to get started. All right, but getting to more of those phone calls. Kevin Williams asking how old do you have to be to give blood. I believe, there is a lower limit. So let me look that up for you real quick. Limit to give blood. The internet is a wonderful thing. Older than 16 is what the Texas Blood Institute has to say. So there are basics, and you must have parental permission. So there is no upper limit on blood donation, just kind of your general health. So please, if you can, go give blood. All blood types are needed, but particularly if you get those O people, the O positive or negative, you probably already have, they're already have you on speed dial, but please go give. I'm planning on doing it on Sunday myself here. But okay, get to those calls, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Andrew from the West Side.
Hey there, Andrew. What's on your mind?
Yes, I understand you had a lady by the name of Guadalupe who's running as an independent candidate for county judge.
Correct. Guadalupe, and I didn't catch her pronunciation of the last name, so I'm not going to try to butcher it. Gainer is the last name spelling.
Right, Gainer or something like that. I just hope that whomever is running for county judge, whether it be the incumbent, if he's elected, or Guadalupe, that they address one particular issue that affects quite a bit of El Pasoans, and that is restoring the cost of living increase for county retirees. That's a big burden right now for these individuals who don't have a cost of living adjustment to their pensions, and seeing that insurance, just to get yourself insured as a county retiree, is $600 a month on the average. Okay, now it brings me to my next point. Okay. Who is paying for COVID-19 tests if a person does not have private insurance, Medicare, or Medicaid? I mean, getting the test itself is one thing. Let's say you get it from the federal government at no cost, but who's paying to analyze it?
That's a good question. My gut answer for, based on what I've been talked about previously, is that they will process it if they have the agreement to do so. Probably in the long term ending up getting reimbursed by the government is my assumption.
Right, I would hope so, because from my understanding, Medicaid Medicare will only cover $51 or $100, depending on the type of test that's offered, and that's still quite a big chunk a person is left to pay, depending on which laboratory analyzes it.
I mean, that is a more detailed question. What I can say is that the way it has worked previously, not sure if this is still the case, is that when I had to go to, the mass cattle call testings for whatever reasons or another, still haven't tested positive at any point, knock on wood, they say there will be no charge for you for this, but if you have insurance, we will bill them, and it helps the system move along a little bit better, provided mine had it at the time, of course, through the station. Thank you very much to our overlords. But I don't know if that's actually still in place now that you mention it. My assumption is, but yeah, you don't like to assume because of what it means for you and me.
Right, understood. Yes, and like I said, one more time, I would like to reiterate. I would hope somebody out there who is a retired county employee, give some feedback on their situation and what they're having to pay in insurance. Like I said, my figures are pretty current, but it is about $600 a month just to self-insure yourself. Dependents are going to be much higher.
Oh, yeah, that's always not quite an order of magnitude more, but not too far from it either, even with my current health plan. Yeah, it gets pricey.
Very well. All right, well, you have a good weekend and have a good evening.
You too as well. Thank you for the points and the call there. That's what we do here on Friday. One other point that was brought up by a previous caller that I didn't want to overlook before we'll get to more calls here. That number again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, was the what is going on for non-citizen travelers at U.S. ports of entry, the bridges, essentially. Now, this was guidance that finally dug it up here, came out of last quarter of last year, end of October. DHS announced that non-citizen travelers who are fully vaccinated for COVID and have appropriate documentation will be permitted to enter the U.S. via land ports of entry. Remember, this was coming off of the whole no crossings. Well, not no crossings, but very limited crossings except for essential purposes, that whole kerfuffle. The numbers dropped by like 20%, but not by any means a stop of foot traffic. Well, I guess you would ask downtown businesses, they might have a different opinion, but yes, so that is what was put into place then. Not finding anything else about something new coming in place, but I've just seen it in my releases here yet. So that is what is currently in place anyway, that any non-citizen travelers must be fully vaccinated and have documentation of such. So testing is coming up. Well, as we're hearing from the news updates, some kind of ramp up going there with those potential at-home tests. Maybe, I like the idea of them sending out the actual N95 rated masks, but we've heard the politics going on there. Anyway, more calls on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Jerry.
Hey there, Jerry. What's on your mind?
Hey, Andrew. I'm going to try to get through this, but I got too emotional.
Fair enough.
I did yesterday. Okay. Somebody called yesterday, and they said they didn't understand why the National Guard is on the border in Texas. That is part of their mission, is to protect their state. They used to be called the militia. That was changed in the early 1900s here, to bring that underneath the military of the U.S. Army as part of another branch of the military type of thing, but still part of the U.S. Army because of funding. Because people could not afford to have the current rifle that is compatible to what the U.S. Army had and stored at their house. But that is part of their mission. They are to help with catastrophes or tornadoes or floods or whatever. This one happens to be a man-made catastrophe, if I can quote the former president from 2008 through 2016. Okay. But using the death of somebody because they took their own life as political hay is really, really a sour note for them. It just shows their character as less than empathetic towards the family, especially. You have enemies that are on the other political persuasion, but using that the crisis against that family because they lost a family member, it just doesn't affect the individual that took their life.
Mm-hmm.
It affects generations of people.
Absolutely.
Okay. And in the military, it does affect the morale of the individuals in that unit when they hear that one of their fellow soldiers took their life, and you think, what could have I had done to stop that? That stays with them for a long time. So the individual claiming this and blaming it on the current governor is wrong. And I'm not sure if I want one of them people representing me in Congress. Thank you, sir.
No.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate you calling back and working your way through it. Sincerely do. I mean, it's a difficult subject to talk about. We've talked a lot about the wedge issues that have been focused on by political opponents of current Texas Governor Greg Abbott, and this shaping up to be one of them. I will say that the way it is being discussed would more likely than not be them saying we are then advocating for those soldiers and their families, but I'm not sure if I'm totally on board with the way it's being gone through either, to be perfectly honest with you, because, yeah, it is a very serious subject. I mean, the whole 22 veterans a day committing suicide on average in this country is abysmal. It's awful. It's one of the worst things, one of the worst stats I've heard of in modern life. And so there is clearly a crisis going on with this. So I would also want to know, anyone bringing this up and saying that this is an issue that this current governor needs to address, what are they doing with the rest of it? And this is not a whataboutism. This is not a, well, let's distract from it. But if they're making political hay out of this, I want to know what they have done with the rest of it as well. And that goes for any candidate in any circumstance, on or off any political side here. All right, that's my minor soapbox. Again, thank you for the point and the call there. We'll go ahead and take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls in the line. That number to call again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. The COVID-19 surge in El Paso continues to affect school districts, and some parents are now concerned over how schools are filling roles when teachers are gone. School districts have seen high numbers, not only of student absences, but also teacher and staff absences. School districts in the El Paso area also continue to face a shortage of substitute teachers, which leaves them with very limited options on how to fill in on classroom roles. Districts are having to resort to filling substitute roles with central office staff and other support staff. And the city of El Paso and a dozen other interveners are currently participating in the Public Utility Commission of Texas public hearing to advocate against El Paso Electric's proposed rate increase. This is according to a news release from the city of El Paso. Under the proposed rate increase, the typical residential customer would have seen an average increase of about $10.54 a month. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Westbound, even though lane restrictions have been lifted downtown, the Gateway 10 westbound is slow with delays from downtown all the way back to Paisano. The I-10 westbound between Ressler and Thorne is stop and go there. Got a crash on the border highway eastbound before Zaragoza. Expect delays and a backup. Gateway Boulevard westbound at Lee Trevino. A crash there from earlier is still slowing traffic. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
After an unseasonably warm end to the week, cooler to much colder weather will be moving in along with breezy to windy conditions. Expect another cold night across the area as temperatures return to the upper 20s to lower 30s by tomorrow morning. Coming up tonight, we'll talk about our next cold front moving through, plus the changes it'll bring to the area for the weekend. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Kira Miner.
This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Losing sleep over a stressful job or a bad boss? It's time to get to know Express Employment Professionals. Connect on the Express Jobs app or ExpressPros.com. More than 500,000 people find work with Express each year.
By texting 818181, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Echelon. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at echelonfit.com/SMS.
You want to ride out and get on? Mr. Worldwide, and I tell you all the time, why dream when you can live it? And that's why now we have an amazing partnership with Echelon to make sure and to help everybody out there make their fitness dreams a reality. I'm here to motivate. I'm here to inspire you every day, baby. Now, Echelon makes fitness affordable for everyone. So, no more excuses. Take your stress and turn it into sweat. Reinvent yourself into the new you that you've always wanted to be. Now, take it from yours truly, Mr. 305, but it said, Mr. Worldwide, let me and Echelon bring your fitness dreams to reality. Why dream when you can live it? You already know. I don't know about you, but I feel good. I don't know about you, but I feel good. That's right.
And right now, for a limited time, radio listeners get up to $800 off MSRP. To get this Echelon exclusive radio discount, text HEALTHY to 818181. Text HEALTHY to 818181 to get up to $800 off MSRP. That's HEALTHY to 818181.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson podcast all week. How is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson podcast now.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson podcast.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. We are doing this whole Friday thing because that's the end of the week, and that means we are taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. Free for all Friday open lines throughout the show. On the back nine here of the second hour, so if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Got some time. We'll get to more of the discussion here. We'll take it on any subject. Just ask that you keep it clean is my major requirement because that's my job requirement. So please, I'm asking nicely. It hasn't been an issue, but we'll take appropriate precautions if need be. Otherwise, we won't have the discussion, so you are more than welcome to 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. I love the way ideas get run with sometimes. The Skeptic Squad working to supplement and hopefully not undermine over here. Suggestion of get together and have drinks and listen to the show together, or Edgar Ortiz saying maybe you can create a panel and call in on speaker to contribute. This is starting to sound like the Peanuts Gallery in real implementation here. Leroy Chuck also with a decent point a little bit earlier. Nothing is free. Our taxes pay for it, but also going on to say, on a point that I never realized would have such life, I'll vote for any candidate in El Paso that doesn't waste my tax dollars on murals. I had no idea that murals would become your absolute enemy, but hey, that's what happens here when you take any comments and all comers on the show. Again, the Skeptic Squad full effect over on Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, and a whole lot more that we'll get into here. Kareem from East El Paso chiming in over on the Twitch, actually. Further on the whole idea brought up in the first hour, or at least earlier segments here, that raise the glass of a cider craft guava, upcoming research institute, and blessings to you and all the Skeptic Squad. Again, it's an interesting idea. Implementation would be another thing, but hey, never hurts to get started on something. So, get into more of those calls in the line here. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Marcia on the west side here with us. Marcia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I'm calling in on the mask issue. And the N95s are American made. The prefix of the 95 denotes where they're made.
Right.
The N95s are American made, and they do have supposed to be where you can't smell anything out. They really have to be tight. The KN95, the K denotes the country that they're with, and they only have to meet the standards of that country, not the standards of the United States.
That is correct to my understanding, yes.
And therefore, a lot of people are using the K95. My employer as well. Here, you got K9. And I said, no, those aren't American made. They go through the trick. But that's anyway, food for thought when we're chasing the mask business.
I mean, it may seem trivial to people, but it is an important distinction, which is why I will tend towards, I mean, I have my own mask. I'm that kind of guy that had one before all this started, and I've been using it throughout because I thought it was just a good idea to have. So I've largely avoided this. But yeah, K stands for Korean filter on KF, and then the different things of it. A lot of them end up being with the KN95s end up being Chinese made. And I just always, having been a general consumer of products, a little bit of slight dubious nature there. The counterfeits there are going around of both KN and N95. So that's not a particular either way that one is more susceptible, but I just, in the back of my mind, I'm always wondering, okay, was this a good batch or not if it comes to cans? That's just me.
I just, and it's difficult to get people to understand this. So I've got a mask. You've got cloth mask that really is doing nothing but looking great.
I mean, the whole argument about any mask is better than something, any N95 of anything is probably better than, someone said early on in this, the Spider-Man mask, and that is stuck in my head, and it's going to be better than your cloth Spider-Man mask. But there is better out there for sure. But it helps to do your research and know what's going on and be well studied on these issues.
Absolutely. For our safety.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, I'm sure that cut rate seatbelt is fine. Oh, no, a discount airbag sounds great. Sign me up. Like, it's about risk reward, making sure you know what the factors are going into it, and being an informed consumer of this, among other services. So, no, it's a very valid point. Thank you for the call.
You're welcome. You have a great day.
All right, you too. All right, we are taking those calls throughout the show here. If you wanted to call in 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. More voting plans going on over in the comments here. It is a wealth of information, knowledge, and innovation here, saying that get more people to vote in El Paso if you gave out free beer. Yeah. But also Edgar Ortiz promising to never undermine me. I will take your word on that here. But yeah, I mean, it just helps to know what the factors are. Making informed decisions is what it's about for me anyway. Edgar Ortiz also bringing up a very valid point that now the CDC is admitting that a cloth mask alone, again, better than nothing, but that's like saying, you know what, I'm going to go out and play in traffic, but I'll only do it when the lights are green. It's better than nothing. I mean, it's dumb. It doesn't make sense. I can't even think of a good dumb enough analogy to say that something's better than nothing, but why not have actual good standard? It comes back to the whole lack of confidence that has been happening. There's been a whole lot of political influence going on with this organization, and that's not even controversial at this point. It's just matter of fact, because who would have thought that a political solution is not what the solution is to a pandemic? Anyway, more calls on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
You're not going to like this. I've been on the east side. I'm just calling one more time. I heard about the KN95. You can get the KN95 is a designation about how the mask is made. You can get KN95s that are made by an American company called Covcare. That's COV Care, and they have KN95s, N95s for less than $1 each.
All right, fair enough. Well, I thank you for that point here, though. Yeah, we usually take one call per day per person. Allowed in this case is just a point of order kind of thing. But otherwise, yeah, we usually keep it one call per person per day, even in this new format, because that's just how it seems to need to work out in the balance. But appreciate the point, particularly as it seems like you were out and about, and don't want you chiming in over on social if you're driving, please and thank you. Again, do what's right for you. If you don't want to wear a mask, Michael Petta is coming in with the spicy comment that no mask works ever. Do what's right for you, my dude. I just got to say that is a hot take that ends up being very lukewarm in the long run. Anyway, got to come back after this break with more Talk El Paso. We'll end up closing out the hour, so we'll squeeze in a couple more calls. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
all day. News Radio 690.
Look for a crash on the I-10 westbound at the Reynolds exit ramp. It's blocking the exit ramp and the shoulder. Crash on the border highway eastbound just before Zaragoza. The backup is to Padres. I-10 gateway westbound, slow and go from the downtown exits back to Paisano. And Loop 375 westbound at Midway. Look for a disabled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Total disaster from the Biden administration. Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week. How is the media not covering just how bad things have gotten with COVID? And why are they protecting him at all costs? We're going to expose it all. Download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
An unmitigated disaster at our southern border, and you will pay the full price. This is a full-blown crisis. It is a humanitarian crisis. It is a national security crisis. It is a health and safety for you and your family crisis.
Joe Biden's weak border policies have made America and Texas less safe. Take it from Brandon Judd, president of the National Border Patrol Council.
Joe Biden refuses to secure our southern border. He's crippled law enforcement and emboldened dangerous drug cartels, criminals, and human traffickers. That's why the National Border Patrol Council is proud to endorse Governor Greg Abbott for re-election. He deployed new resources to assist law enforcement, and he's cracked down on criminal activity. No other governor has done more to secure our border than Greg Abbott.
Vote on March 1st. Governor Greg Abbott, securing the future of Texas.
Political ad paid for by Texans for Greg Abbott.
Open the doors to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities, a podcast that offers a rare glimpse into some of the most amazing and unbelievable stories taken straight from the pages of history. What you hear may astound you and disturb you. Tune in twice a week for bite-sized storytelling experiences that take listeners on a guided tour of the unbelievable, the unsettling, and the bizarre. Listen to Aaron Mahnke's Cabinet of Curiosities on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
When El Paso Children's Hospital first opened its doors in 2012, they forever changed pediatric healthcare in the region. More families stay in El Paso for specialty treatment instead of leaving town. More children have access to pediatric specialists. 7 pediatric specialty clinics help achieve the best possible outcomes. And there's so much more to come. El Paso Children's Hospital, celebrating 10 years of pediatric specialty care in the region. 10 years of wonder.
Donate blood, save a life, and maybe win a Barnett Harley-Davidson motorcycle. The all-radio blood drive from Vital Martin Luther King weekend at Barnett Harley-Davidson, El Paso, and Las Cruces. Free t-shirts and gift-filled goodie bags to all donors. Plus a chance to win a Barnett Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Give blood. Friday, January 14th to Monday, January 17th. 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Learn more at BarnettHarley.com or call 915-592-5804. Sponsored in part by EARS, the El Paso Association of Radio Stations, and Vitalent.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. The Skeptic Squad rarely fails to disappoint, or maybe it... Anyway, if you want to join in over there, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the main outpost for it. But we've also got Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, other Facebook pages that you can follow along with. Tune in, chime in, however suits you. Thing to do here on Friday, because we are taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. Kevin Williams letting us know he wears a Lone Ranger mask. Stephen Purdy making kind of a point there. I'll take it in stride. That if you don't want to wear a full bodysuit and hazmat mask in public for the rest of your life, only because you want to kill grandmas. Again, public confidence in the way a lot of this has been talked about has been more than a little bit ridiculous. But, I mean, just take reasonable precautions for yourself. That's the best I can do you here. And Edgar Ortiz asking, what am I supposed to do with all the cool cloth masks with logos I purchased? Face diapers are here to stay. That is actually more of a relevant point than I think that you intend there. I think there are some out there that will probably just keep doing it forever. For whatever reason you want to ascribe to it, that's your prerogative. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that stays around for a while, regardless of requirement or mandate or whatever. You can't go through this kind of thing in the time it has taken here, a couple of years, without there probably going to be some making different choices than they did before. But I think that also kind of comes with probably what we're going to be seeing. I have an inclination, and this is not based on any scientific fact at this moment, but that I've just had a premonition, I guess might be the way to put it. No, I don't claim to be psychic or anything, but just it almost came vividly to me that like 10 years down the line of hearing a news report about how like the Department of Long COVID or something like that, its clinics are overflowing with new people, because that's the thing about this that has always struck me. As a quick aside, that the whole symptoms that come along with it, particularly like the nasal and the lack of smell and taste and all of that, those are not because of anything to do with those particular sensory organs. It's in the brain. So that means that we have a disease that is somehow affecting brain function. And that's why I, again, thank my lucky stars and take the precautions I do that have worked out for me so far. Again, knock on wood. Because, well, I don't know, I'm interested in gambling about it. But to the point about masks, I am a follower of Mike Rowe, of course, the host of Dirty Jobs and all the stuff he does there. But he also posts a lot. He had a post come up yesterday, actually, talking about his Mike Rowe rectangle mask. That is a cloth mask that says his famous phrase, safety third, on it. Because, of course, that's a phrase that he likes. And it may sound a little off the wall at first, like why would safety be third? The general point he makes with that is that safety should always be on the list, because if you're expecting someone else to be in charge of your safety, that's when it's no longer going to be safe for you, is kind of a general point. Like along the lines of a statement of safety last, because safety should be every step of the way. But also he says that the commentary that he provides on the whole way standards are set here. So again, not telling anyone you have to or don't have to do anything, but do what's right for you. For me and mine, the option is to wear an effective mask, because yes, I have looked into it and found standards that I trust and believe in. Technically, it's over N95, but hey, that's what I do. But a lot of comments going on about that. Question did, safety third. Again, it's a pretty good statement. Question did come in over the break here. Gentleman called in asking about vaccination status. So wanted to put that out there as a general question of he had a pretty severe case of COVID that he's now recovered from, about what the recommendation is there for actual vaccination status. Everything I've been able to find is basically suggesting that if you have had a case within about 6 months, you are probably fine. But then after that 6 months, and this is kind of general averages, the recommendation is then to be vaccinated. And I'm sure we will have plenty of input and interesting comments over there on that. But as we're rounding the corner here on this last segment of our last show for this week, I think that's the whole situation going on in Texas. You look at some of the graphs anyway, going on with the COVID levels that we are seeing, hopefully literally turning the bend, but we've done a whole stair-step thing in the past, so I'm not going to hold my breath, except for, well, the effective mask that I choose to wear anyway. It really comes down to, I say it a lot because it's the best way I can think to handle this. Mandates are problematic in most ways, particularly the way that they end up being implemented and the wider swaths that happen, which is why I find myself generally in favor of the way the Supreme Court handled its decision, even if not 100% satisfied. But hey, I'll take something over nothing when it comes to it. If we have made it through all of this without hospital collapse, without a serious destabilization of our health infrastructure, at the very least here in town, I will thank our lucky stars that has happened, and that we may be moving along the track to seeing the endemic nature of this disease. Pandemic as opposed to endemic pandemic is, of course, the specific time frame that it happens within, like, the flu pandemic that has been much talked about of the previous century. But if it's becoming endemic like the flu, but it ends up having, on balance, less symptoms and less infects and less severity of it, there's be that much hated phrase of the new normal. Michael Pat is saying, how does my effective mask seal against your skin? It actually seals very well because it's situated to go right here. I'll be honest with you, I have used a breathing aid when sleeping at certain points, and the way I both have my facial hair and those things work seals very well, believe it or not. So it does. I mean, it's not a total sticky seal, but we're within, nines of efficiency that I am willing to trust and use. If I was going into a hazmat situation, I would use an actual gas mask, but this is where we are. Leroy Chuck with a pretty good way to sum up the week as well. Leroy Chuck saying, the power is still on. We still have running water. It's going to be okay, people. Calm down and live your life. This is not to say that we should not pay attention to the important things that are going on. Literally, the reason this show exists is because being able to sit back, relax, nothing is literally on fire all the time, I think is an important point that sometimes gets lost in our discourse. Those that are most engaged and most dealing with it are very much high-strung, would be maybe an understatement sometimes. So taking a deep breath, going outside, smelling the roses, and making sure someone else didn't smell them before you or cough on them, I think is important. But I do think at the same time it's important to recognize what is good, what is valuable out there. This is not a guided meditation by any means. Don't worry, we're not going that way. James Radcliffe talking about beard, a lot of bacteria and some viruses. Yes, I also wash my beard. Those studies that they did with some people about what is stuck in there, more than a little disturbing. But yeah, cleanliness, basic hygiene. Also an important point that was very much focused on at the start of the pandemic, but not so much more recently. Anyway, we got a lot of comments that ended up coming about this. We're on to the corner of this week. Some of the stuff we got coming up next week for you on this program. More on the economic outlook for our region, because really I think some of the changes we're seeing, pandemic related, of course, because that has driven quite a lot, and it's hard to understate the impact that is going to have societally, programmatically, economically, socially going forward is pretty serious. It is going to be having a lot of impacts. And what we're going to be seeing in this area, we're going to be delving into that with the Border Region Economic Forecast Report and those things with the Professor Fullertons, Tom and Stephen from UTEP, to talk about what they're looking at, the factors they're looking at, what can be forecasted. That's coming up next week, as well as, again, going to be out there at that Thrive 915 Business Mixer. That'll be happening next Thursday. We'll post more about that as we're getting a little bit closer to it. Free admission, but they do ask that you participate with the vendors that they're going to be having out there as well. Going on right now, do not forget that blood drive. Going on the next 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, out at Barnett Harley-Davidson. Take the Loma Land exit off of I-10 right before you hit then Lee Trevino. You'll see it. It's a big sign. It's the world's largest. It's hard to miss. And they will be doing that 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each of those days through Monday. So done for the day today, but be sure to go out there. I'll probably be going out there again myself Sunday if I can make it to make my donation, but just please donate if you can. It's important for the community. Edgar Ortiz asking about that business mixer. That was the guest we had on Wednesday with Dan Morales. We'll post up that link again. That'll be happening out at Mountain Star Brewing, which is off of, I am not remembering the location here, so let me do my quick sneaky Google. Mountain Star Brewing is Pelicano? Am I thinking about that right? Anyway, yes, we will be out there Thursday giving a keynote speech at 7. Yes, Pelicano Drive, intersection of Pelicano and Vanderbilt, just off of Loma Land itself. So that'll be on Thursday. So all of that. What we got coming up next week. So thank you everyone who did tune in, comment, participate in the show. You literally are help what make the show what it is, because otherwise it'd be a guy talking in a room. I want to have that discussion with y'all, and that's what we'll keep doing every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So thank you everyone who did participate. Thank you everyone who donated. Tommy specifically, you better come back and donate or I'm going to find you. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there. Look towards for more cycles. Have a great weekend.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
It's slow and go on the 10 Gateway, and what's causing that? Probably the accident blocking the Reynolds exit ramp from the 10 westbound. It's backing up to Hawkins. The 10 westbound is slow at Wrestler up to Thorne. Loop 375 westbound at Midway. There's a stalled vehicle blocking the right shoulder. And also on the loop, northbound, stop and go traffic from the 10 to Pelicano. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, use my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed-rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online, and you could get your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company